What does it mean for a single decision to change the moral direction of humanity forever? Doctors were beginning their shifts. Nothing in the air suggested that within minutes, a new chapter of human history, one written with science, fire, and silence, was about to begin. At 8:15 a.m., a single bomb detonated above the city. Buildings vanished. Tens of thousands of lives ended before pain could even be registered. And for the first time, humanity discovered that it had created a tool capable not just of destroying cities, but of redefining the limits of destruction itself. This story is often told as a moment in history, but it is far more than that. Hiroshima is not only about what happened, it is about why it happened, how it became possible, and what it revealed about the relationship between science, power, and responsibility. To understand Hiroshima, we must step back, not just into history, but into the mindset of a world at war. By 1945, World War II had already consumed millions of lives. Entire continents were exhausted. Cities across Europe and Asia lay in ruins. Japan, though weakened, had not surrendered. The memory of brutal battles, such as Iwo Jima and Okinawa, shaped the expectations of military leaders. A land invasion of Japan was predicted to cost hundreds of thousands, possibly millions, of lives on both sides. At the same time, a scientific project, unlike any other, was nearing completion. The Manhattan Project was not born out of cruelty, but out of fear. Fear that Nazi Germany might develop an atomic weapon first. Fear that science, once unleashed, could not be stopped by ethics alone. The project brought together some of the greatest minds of the 20th century: physicists, engineers, mathematicians, many of whom were refugees from fascism themselves. They were not united by ideology, but by urgency. The science behind the atomic bomb was elegant and terrifying at the same time. By splitting the atom of uranium-235, an enormous amount of energy could be released in a chain reaction. A reaction so fast, so powerful, that it could level a city in an instant. What had once been theoretical equations on paper became a physical force capable of reshaping reality. And when the bomb was tested successfully in the New Mexico desert in July 1945, even its creators were stunned. Some scientists celebrated, others were silent. A few openly feared what they had helped create. J. Robert Oppenheimer, the scientific director of the project, later recalled a line from the Bhagavad Gita: "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." It was not a declaration of pride. It was a moment of realization. When the decision was made to use the bomb, it was framed as a strategic necessity, a means to end the war quickly, a way to prevent even greater bloodshed. These arguments were not invented later. They were present at the time, and they cannot be dismissed lightly. But Hiroshima forces us to ask a deeper question. When technology gives us unprecedented power, does necessity alone justify its use? The bomb dropped on Hiroshima, nicknamed Little Boy, was not even the most efficient design possible. It was chosen because it was reliable. The city itself was selected not only for military reasons, but because it had been largely untouched by previous bombings. This allowed scientists and military planners to clearly observe the weapon's effects. In other words, Hiroshima became both a target and an experiment. Within moments of the explosion, approximately 70,000 people were killed. By the end of the year, that number would rise to around 140,000 due to radiation sickness, burns, and injuries. Many survivors, known as hibakusha, would suffer for decades. Some experienced cancers years later. Others carried psychological scars that never healed. Yet Hiroshima is often reduced to numbers. Numbers are easier to process than faces, easier than stories, easier than the realization that the majority of victims were civilians. And this is where Hiroshima becomes more than history. It becomes philosophy. Because the true impact of Hiroshima is not only physical destruction, it is the moment humanity crossed a threshold, a moment when the ability to annihilate ourselves became real, not hypothetical. For the first time, scientific progress outpaced our moral frameworks. Before Hiroshima, wars were limited by logistics, manpower, and time. After Hiroshima, a single decision could end millions of lives in minutes. Power became centralized not in armies, but in technology, in knowledge, in laboratories. This raises an uncomfortable question. Is science neutral? Science itself does not choose targets. Equations do not carry intent. But science exists within human systems, political, economic, ideological systems. Hiroshima shows us that knowledge, when combined with authority, becomes power. And power always demands accountability. Some argue that the bomb saved lives by ending the war quickly. Others argue that Japan was already close to surrender, and that alternative demonstrations of force could have been attempted. History does not offer a single, uncontested answer. What it offers instead is a lesson in complexity. Hiroshima teaches us that moral clarity is rare in moments of crisis. Decisions are made under pressure, fear, and uncertainty. Leaders act not with perfect knowledge, but with incomplete information and enormous consequences. And yet the outcome remains. After Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the world entered the nuclear age. An age defined not by constant war, but by constant threat. Deterrence replaced direct conflict. Peace was maintained not through trust, but through fear of mutual destruction. The irony is profound. The weapon designed to end a war became the foundation of a fragile peace. Even today, decades later, the logic of nuclear deterrence governs international relations. The bombs remain. The technology has advanced. The ethical questions remain unresolved. Hiroshima is often remembered as a warning, but perhaps it is more accurately remembered as a mirror. It reflects our capacity for brilliance and destruction at the same time. It shows how quickly survival instincts can override compassion, and it reminds us that progress without reflection can lead us to places we never intended to go. When visitors walk through Hiroshima today, they do not encounter a city frozen in tragedy. They encounter a living place, rebuilt, resilient, quietly insisting that remembrance is not about guilt, but about awareness. The city does not ask the world to choose sides. It asks the world to remember. Because forgetting is easy. Repeating is easier. And so the question remains, not about the past, but about the future. In a world where technology continues to accelerate faster than ethics, where artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and weapons systems evolve rapidly, What lessons are we truly carrying forward from Hiroshima? Have we learned how to balance power with responsibility? Or have we simply grown more comfortable living under the shadow of what we are capable of? If humanity were faced with the same choice again, armed with even greater power and even more advanced technology, would we choose differently?